Welcome back to, hopefully back, if not, welcome for the first time to Mom and Pop's Video Shop. And this is something a little different, right, Tyson? We're trying to mix things up a bit. We're going to do a review for The Exorcist Believer from 2023. And since I haven't seen it, I'm going to kick it over to you to get your thoughts.
And here's the thing, man. When it comes to new releases, that never happens. I never see stuff in the theater before you do. So I don't know what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
But I think you better get it straightened out.
The struggle is real, my friend.
Right.
The struggle is real.
Priority straight. Yeah. So not only did I see it before you, but I actually saw it Thursday night of its opening weekend, which when did that start happening? I always thought that like opening weekends were always on Fridays.
No, they've been doing that for a very long time.
That's been a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that shows you how in tune I am with theatrical releases. So at any rate, though, I went Thursday night to a 10:30 p.m. showing. I was the only one in the theater up until the point where like the title card showed.
Really?
Then,
okay.
A handful of teenagers came in, but they were well-behaved teenagers.
All right,
so
cool.
It didn't ruin my evening. And I gotta say, man, I usually, not that I rag on watching movies in the theater, but in this case, I think it probably added something to it. So especially when you're, basically in an empty theater in the middle of the night watching something like an Exorcist flick, there's just something kind of extra spooky about that. So anyway, with all that being said, let's dive into my very short and hopefully spoiler-free review of The Exorcist Believer from 2023. So I think anybody that watches this channel, probably a horror fan, and probably by now realizes that The Exorcist Believer was directed by one David Gordon Green of the most recent Halloween trilogy fame. And I think there's probably some mixed emotions about him taking the helm. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that a lot, especially post Halloween ends. Yes.
Exactly. I was one of those people. So I don't know if that was good or bad, but I went into this with my expectations considerably lower than they probably would have been if, say, he had made this movie before all of the other Halloween movies. So anyway, David Gordon Green directed, and I believe co-wrote it with, let me check my notes here, Peter Sadler. And based on what I saw on IMDb, I think that Peter Sadler is a relatively new writer-director. I don't think he has done much.
And I don't want to derail you here, but I think was also Scott Teems also part of the... I think there was...
He was.
Okay,
yes. So he was a third, and he did, I think he did Halloween Kills, but I don't think he did Halloween Ends.
He did Halloween Kills, but he also did the Firestarter remake, which is what gave me massive pause when I found out he was writing this. So yeah.
And although I haven't seen it, I think he also was involved with the newest Insidious installment.
Yes, he was.
He was. Red
Part
door,
5.
The red door.
Yep.
I might be getting that confused with Behind the Green Door, which was,
But it's something with a red door, and I think it's part 5. Yes.
Exactly. So as far as cast goes, Leslie Odom Jr. Is kind of the male lead. I was happy to see, because at first the character really got on my nerves in this, but it's played by Ann Dowd.
Yes, she's great.
Figure out where I knew her from, and then it hit me that she was in Hereditary, a much heavier set. Ann Dowd was in Hereditary, and I loved her character and that, and she turned out to be pretty good in this, I think, too. The two girls in The Exorcist Believer, which I guess that's a bit of a spoiler in this case.
No, I mean, if you've seen the trailer or anything, you know that.
Exactly. That's not much of a spoiler. So we've got two possessed children in The Exorcist Believer, played by Lydia Jewett and Olivia, is it O'Neill, I think? And then as a little fan service, fans of the original Exorcist will be happy to see the lovely and incomparable Ellen Burstyn back in this. So she makes an appearance. So here's the thing. I'm going to come right out and say it. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about The Exorcist Believer. It seems like it's very polarized. I got to tell you, man, I liked this.
Really? Now, you didn't love it. You say you didn't love it, but you liked it.
Yeah. You know what? Just in case people don't want to watch this all the way to the end, I'll tell you right now. Oh, I'll tell you what, we're going to do our tape rating at the end. Yep. So what I will do is I'll do a say a 1 to 10 scale right now.
Okay.
In the vein of a Jay's New Horror Movies type rating. Sure. if I were put on the spot right now, I would probably go 8 out of 10.
No, really.
Yes, brother.
See, because here's, and we'll keep this quick. We're trying to keep these in theater or new on streaming type reviews pretty short. But I want to ask this question. I feel like as a person who hasn't seen it yet, and maybe this is what somebody who's watching this would think. The negativity I've heard, and honestly, it's not like political. Like no one's been accusing this of being quote unquote woke or any of that other crap. It's the script. Like from what I could see and what I've heard, some of the writing and that the first hour is really solid. And then it kind of goes off the rails for a lot of people in that second part. It seems to be the consistent and also oddly enough, the words corporate and soulless get thrown around a lot too.
I don't know about the corporate and soulless part because I certainly didn't pick up on anything like that. I will say that the second half of the movie is probably its weakest.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If I have to critique it, but here's the thing: we're talking about not only a genre film, as in a horror film.
Sure.
It's a subgenre film. It's a possession film. And it's basically a sequel to the possession film that started it all, right?
And in my opinion, not only the best possession film ever made, hands down, that's easy, maybe the best one, if not the best, one of the top tier ever made horror movies of all time. And movies, period.
So when you think about that and you go into this, the way I see it is you have two options if you're going to make a possession movie, and specifically an Exorcist follow-up. You can either try to reinvent the wheel and show us something that we've never seen before, which, let's be honest,
good luck with that. Yeah,
probably damn near impossible at this point when it comes to exorcism films in general, right? We've seen everything. Or you stick with the tropes that we've seen, and you just make it scary as shit. And you make a decent film out of it. And I gotta be honest, I feel like that's what they did with this. Okay. There's a couple of really good jump scares. Now, maybe again, it was because I was basically in a theater by myself, but I jumped a few times in this, which doesn't happen often with me, being as
because usually you just feel nothing. Yes, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm dead inside. So I will say a critique, people said that it didn't seem too soapboxy. It got a little preachy at times, but you know how you watch something, I know this happens with you a lot, and you'll get to a point you're like, oh man, is this where we're going to go with this? I started to have that feeling, and then that was it.
Okay. Yeah.
It did. You know what I mean? So it's like, are you going to do this? Is this what we're going to do? And then that was it. They didn't go any further. Okay. So again, I said, if you're a fan of the original, there's good fan service. Some people I know hate that, the fact that they cast Ellen Burstyn. They're like, oh, you're just trying to play off the original. But it's like, look, man, if you're a fan of The Exorcist, you're really going to bitch because you've got,
I love Ella Burstyn, but again, the knock I've heard continuously is her in it. It's first off, they're very deceptive in the marketing. Like she's not in it nearly as much as they made it seem like. Number one, and number two, the way she was used. And I don't know what that is. I haven't been spoiled yet. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody watching this. I have heard that is also a fairly big issue for a lot of people. So obviously, it wasn't for you, which is cool. I'm glad. I'm honestly glad you liked it.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like when it comes to these 50-year-old movies, and you're recasting original actors for them, come on. By now, you got to expect that you're probably not going to get 90 minutes of. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming we don't get 90 minutes of Harrison Ford in the new Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to see it, and I don't care. But
I know. I'm gonna hit my Joel rant button. Yeah. I'm gonna hit my rant button right now. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I didn't go into this expecting much at all, but I didn't. Not to mention, this lady's in her 90s. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
She's pretty. She's up there.
Probably not good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm of the opinion, if you want to allude to the original case, fine. I think this weird thing that I guess it's not really weird. It's marketing 101. It's we're making a requel, reboot, whatever they're calling it now. And we're going to find a legacy character, Sally Hardesty, Laurie Strode. Obviously, Laurie Strode's way more involved, certainly into the 2018 movie.
Sure.
And then we're going to inject them in because I will say this, I do not think in the year of our Lord 2023, anybody was saying for a new Exorcist movie, well, I'll see it as long as Ellen Burstyn's in it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that was a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think she could have done without her and maybe wouldn't have had some of the pushback that I feel like that's one of the areas where people push back. But you know what? You're never going to make everybody happy.
I didn't mind her. Yeah, exactly. She didn't. Here's the thing. Her character didn't necessarily need to be in this, but it didn't bug me.
Gotcha.
I enjoyed seeing her. So
all right,
I got a few notes to make here. I'm going to go down the list real fast.
And then we'll do your rating.
Wrap this up. So first of all, the effects. Mm-hmm. I loved that. Man, the effects were simple. You can see in the poster art that's our heads are covering up right now. But man, it for the most part, the makeup was practical.
Christopher Nelson. Was it Christopher Nelson?
Christopher Nelson, absolutely. And I think that comes through. So here's the thing. It's I went in expecting to see the cliched bullshit stuff that we've come to know in possession movies, the crab walks, the
did anybody twitch and do it?
Exactly, dude. There's none of that shit. Man.
Oh, okay.
This was
good.
This was just straight up
good.
Yeah, man. This was just straight up creepy. I mean, even the voice. Again, not to spoil anything, but it's Pazuzu again.
Yeah, okay.
And the voice you get, I mean, it has echoes of Reagan,
cool.
And in 1973, there was only so much that Dick Smith could do with special effects too. And I feel like Christopher Nelson probably went into this saying, listen, I'm going to channel the inner Dick Smith here and keep shit simple, which I really respect.
Always advisable to channel. Always advisable to channel your inner Dick. Yes.
Whenever possible. Absolutely. Some people I know have said, oh, this wasn't scary at all. And here's the thing, man. In 1973, religion, specifically Catholic guilt, exorcism, possession was a relatively unknown thing, witchcraft, and we were pre-satanic panic, but you know what I mean? Just that subject matter rang differently than it does today. And the reason that I think not as many people are scared is because they're desensitized to religion. Me personally, not only does it scare me, but I have like a newfound fascination with possession and the occult and witchcraft. And I think we call myself a relapsed Catholic. So, I mean, there was a time, dude, where that was my biggest fear. I would lay in bed at night, just literally praying that I didn't get possessed. That was my biggest fear, that I was going to wake up in the morning and not be me. I was going to be.
Yeah. Fair enough. That is a good fear. That is a good fear.
All right. Here's the thing. The folks that are saying that it's not scary, I don't think that they're, I know that some people said, well, it's really slow. The first half is really slow.
Well,
look at the original.
Yeah, it's very
the original. You were a good hour in before you got the full tilt Pazuzu Boogaloo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like this was too. It builds, and then you get to like the last part of it, and then it pulls out all the stops. I've seen some reviews where people are like, oh, well, why these two girls? They don't really explain.
Why Reagan? Well, I was just playing a Ouija board.
Yeah, but you don't see it.
No.
They tell you, oh, she was playing with a Ouija board. You don't actually see the act. And it's like, if you really drill down, and I think the Exorcist documentary, William Friedkin talks about this. If you really look at the plot, Reagan wasn't the target. It was Father Karras, right?
It used her to get to him. Yeah.
And I would argue that you could make that same, again, without giving anything away. I feel like some of that
type of idea,
same mentality comes through in this too. That if you look at this and you think about it for a second, who are the true targets in this film? So anyway, with all that being said, look, I liked it. And if we're going to go with a tape rating,
hold that thought. Let me bring up our rating system here.
All right, man. Work your magic.
Okay. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tapes for Tyson. How does the Exorcist Believer rate if you were renting it?
Well, here's the thing. Since I already kind of gave it away and said I would go on a 10 scale, 8 out of 10, I think if I do the math right, I'd come in at probably 3.5 tapes out of 5 for this. Okay. So I would say, if you're, I think it's worth seeing in a theater at 10:30 at night, practically by yourself. But at the very least, if you're not quite ready to dive into that deep into the pool, then certainly when this is available on streaming, I think it's worth a rental.
All right, excellent. So anyone out there who sees this review, let us know in the comments below. Please do not spoil if you've seen the movie. But look, I think it goes. I don't want to speak for Tyson on this, but for myself, I love a diversity of opinions and thought and ideas. So please share what you think. If you didn't like it, if you totally disagree, I very well. I know this will shock people to learn. I may see this and come back at Tyson with this is a one taper, and there is no way I would ever recommend this to anyone. And we could still be friends. It's okay. I don't. It's not a personal slight.
That goes to our backgrounds and what gets to us and what doesn't.
Sure,
and,
absolutely.
And that's fine. But
it's very subjective.
I think that as long as you don't go into this expecting 1973's, The Exorcist, lightning in a bottle.
No, you're not gonna. Yeah, and I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting that. I just don't want it to suck. That's really my.
I want you to see it especially because I liked it as much as I did. I'm really interested to see how you come out on it.
Yeah, but I think that's the point. So anybody watching, please in the comments below, let us know. Are you excited to see The Exorcist Believer, or could you care less? Maybe you're done with requels, reboots, all of this crap in general, which I don't blame you. And I would say if you have seen it and you agree and or disagree with Tyson's take, let us know. Again, just try to keep it a spoilery free. If you go on a text-based rant in the comments, please keep it spoilery.
And let us not forget that there have been some other Exorcist sequels that weren't all that great.
There's been Exorcist 3, which is fantastic. So,
of course, but there's also been Exorcist 2.
And the 2 versions of Part 4. Yeah. And although the TV series was good.
I love the TV series.
TV series is fantastic.
The point is, it's not like this is a and I know you'll appreciate this. I wouldn't call this like an Evil Dead franchise where every single installment has been
great. Yeah,
exactly. So,
gotcha.
Take a chance on it. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough. So be sure to leave us a comment and
the power
subscribe.
of mom and pops compels you.
Yeah, to like and subscribe, please. We're a small fledgling channel. We're definitely a mom and pop channel.
The mystery of YouTube compels you.